Hello, I'm Andy Prosser. I'm the Head of Investments at InvestEngine. Welcome back to our weekly Market Roundup, which is your quick look at what's been moving the markets and what it means for investors. Now, it's been a busy week for markets this week. It began with news over the weekend that the trade deal between the US and the EU had been agreed. So the European market actually fell on that news, and it was driven mainly by the European car manufacturers who are likely to be hit hardest by these 15% tariffs. The tariffs, though, they were good news for the US. The US market ended Monday up about 0.5%-ish, while the European market fell over 1%. Now, a bit of that was currency movements. So the US dollar strengthened and the euro weakened as a result of that tariff announcement, which kind of compounded the gains for the US and compounded the losses for Europe. Then on Wednesday, the Fed announced they were keeping rates on hold. It was very expected by the market. Despite Trump's extremely public calls for Jerome Powell to lower rates. He called him a total loser on social media. Just before the Fed announcement, the US also released some strong GDP data. And so both those two releases together, the interest rate announcement and the GDP data, both led to even more dollar strength against the pound. We also had this week lots of big tech earnings. They were mixed, but on the whole were pretty helpful for markets. So Microsoft and Meta, they both beat earnings estimates, as did Apple on Thursday evening. Amazon, though, they were the odd one out. They fell about 8% after a disappointing growth outlook. But despite the kind of generally strong earnings results from these big tech companies which are driving markets, almost every single global market fell on Friday. And that was after Trump announced a whole slew of new tariffs. Which included 35% on Canada, 25% on India, a global 10% minimum, with that being 15% for countries with trade surpluses with the US. Now, one notable exception from these tariff deals was China, and they face a separate deadline of the 12th of August. So looking back at the last week then, markets had a difficult week, mainly because of these tariff announcements, and that's especially in dollar terms. But thanks to the dollar rising over 1% against the pound, that dollar strength has really cushioned losses for us sterling investors. If you have any thoughts or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, for more updates, head to our blog or sign up to our newsletter, and we'll be back next Friday. Thanks for watching.